This video is going to take a look at the I'm Responding map and the I'm Responding mapping tools and settings. Looking at our map on the right hand side, in the upper right hand corner there's a number of different icons. The first one we're going to take a look at is the gear. This opens your mapping settings. Looking at our mapping settings, you can see that there is an option to turn on Auto Map Incident. Enabling this will automatically route to your next dispatch as it arrives. I have mine turned off on my non-emergency screen so that when my responders are on their way to the fire hall, I can see their location. The next option here is your default location. There's browser location, agency location, which we control here based off of where we have your address listed, and then custom location. I like to suggest that people use custom location because it gives you full control of where we map you from. To utilize that, select custom location. This is going to automatically load a map for you of your area with a red pin at a starting point. Once the map loads, the instructions on what to do are listed up above the map itself. You're going to click and drag the red pin and put it on the location of your agency, wherever you want point A to be on the map when we're mapping you to a call. Now, it is difficult to be precise when you're zoomed out, so what's very helpful is to move the pin closer. Zoom in a little, move the pin closer, and just repeat the process until you can get the pin on the exact location. Once I have the pin where I want it to be sure to hit Set Location in the lower right hand corner. Next, under the mapping settings, we have our default view, road map, satellite, hybrid, terrain, and street view. Keep in mind that the street view is only available where Google Maps has already taken street view. If there is no street view available, our system is going to display that message in the mapping tile. Under filters, you can determine what information is displayed on the I'm Responding map. For hydrants, I have mine set to none, but if you do turn the hydrant functionality on, you can determine the radius from the incident that you want to see the hydrants. If you want to see all the hydrants, you're going to move the dot to the far left. If you only want to see hydrants within a certain radius of the incident location, you can move this dot to the right. For all of the other map icons we have, the markers, the apparatus, geofences, all of mine are set to all. So on my map, all map markers are going to display from the entire I'm Responding database. All apparatus, all geofences, all member tracking, regardless of the agency. Once you have your filters set up the way you want them to be, you can minimize that field and set up the mapping zoom. You have the option to show the full route or zoom in to the destination. Then you can set a zoom level. You can choose whatever metric you want your distance measurements to be. Be sure to hit save when you're done. By going to the letter I in the upper right, it'll tell you the different colors of our member tracking functionality. If you see a red car on the map, you can presume that it's an officer, where a blue car would be medical personnel. The next button over is some of our different mapping tools. You can see that the top tool is a ruler. This allows you to measure distances on the map. We'll take a look at that in a moment. Next, we have a grid with the USNG lines. We'll take a look at those. If you ever get yourself off center on the map, you can click this teardrop and it will center you back on your agency location. In my case, my chosen custom location. You can go full screen. Using the ruler tool, we're going to zoom in a little bit on the map, and I'm going to click on 2 points, and the ruler tool is simply going to tell me the distance between those 2 points. As I continue clicking, in the upper left hand corner of the map, it's going to tell me the total of the distance between the points. So you can see this allows me to measure down a road. I can measure the distance from the closest hydrant to my incident location to figure out how much supply line I need. You can measure rural distances or wilderness distances so you can see how far that someone has walked off of a trail or how far you might need to go to perform a rescue. If you click the X next to the distance in the upper left, it'll delete your points one at a time, so you can backtrack just a little bit at a time if needed. This functionality is also on the I'm Responding application, which we'll take a look at in just a moment. Clicking on the grid to turn on the USNG lines. Every grid is a 10 meter by 10 meter square. Know that there is a FEMA and an NFPA directive that explains the use of the USNG lines. To better understand the US National Grid system, I'm going to suggest that you go to YouTube and check out this video. Do a search for the US National Grid system, and this video will come up, which was posted back in December of 2015. This video explains both NFPA and FEMA requirements for the use of USNG, how to read and understand the grid system. The USNG grid lines are available on the I'm Responding website maps, as well as the application. If you ever do find yourself where the map is not centered on your agency location, you want to bring it back, you can choose this teardrop from the tools, and the map will center back on your agency location. You can also choose the different map views. My default is hybrid, but in the moment, if I need to, I can switch to a road map view. On the phone application, we are looking at an Apple phone, but the Android phone functions the same way. All the tools are listed along the right-hand side. To turn on the USNG grid lines, I can select that option. Underneath that, we have our different map layers. Our ruler tool is here. You can see in the upper left, this has 0.00 feet. As I select two different points on the map, it's going to tell me the distance between those. As I continue touching the screen, it's going to add up the total of all the points. If I want the map to follow me as I move, I can touch this arrow. With the arrow blue, I know that anywhere I go, the map will be centered on my location. The bottom option are these three dots. You can select which mapping program you want to use to navigate you. Our system and your map markers will be displayed on Google Maps. But if you want Apple Maps to be the program that navigates you to the incident, you can select Apple Maps, Google Maps, or Waze to navigate you. If you just hit the word directions, we're going to provide you a written list of Google Maps directions from your location to the incident location. When we go to the gear in the upper right corner of the map, this is going to open up all of your filter options. Do you want to see all hydrants, no hydrants, geofences, apparatus? So you can check these, move them back and forth as you need to. We do have a tool called address validation that allows you to verify or correct an address that takes you to the wrong place. We're looking at the app. You'll notice at the very bottom there's a gray pin, and next to it says this location is not yet validated. Let's go through the validation process. First, we're going to hit the Map It icon in the lower left. Let's suggest that this location, point B, is incorrect. Validate location is a permission. Since I have that permission, I do see that button on my screen. When I select Validate Location, I have 60 seconds to move this green pin. I can touch that green pin and move it wherever I need it to go. I can put that green pin on a specific house or structure or intersection. Once I've selected where the green pin needs to go, you'll notice that it says street name and it has an address. You can ignore that address for all practical purposes. If the pin is where you want your first responders to go to, validate that location. We will map first responders to wherever you place the pin. After I select Validate Location, point B has now moved on the map to the location that I have picked with the Validate Location tool. Now if we go back to my incident details, you'll notice at the bottom of the screen that I have validated the location and the teardrop is now green. The address validation tool does not validate locations into the future. It only validates this incident's location so that my first responders can be mapped to the right place. We do have an address validated report where at the end of the month, the end of the quarter, or the end of the year, you can pull up a list as well as a map of all your validated locations. You can see where your hotspots are, where most of your calls take place, or where locations where none of your calls take place. This is particularly useful if you're contracted or need to keep track of neighborhoods or towns that you respond to. To unvalidate a location, if for some reason you did it incorrectly or if someone else in your agency did it incorrectly, just pull up that call, hit the Validate Location button again. Are you sure you want to remove this address verification? Accept, And now the mapping will revert back to the location initially pulled by I'm Responding. This has been a look at your mapping tools. If you have questions, please let us know. The best thing to do is to try the different buttons on your phone and see what functions your agency may benefit from the most and use them to the fullest capacity within your agency's operations.